There's a certain pride in Pure Michigan, the serenity, the crisp air, and a different sort of dysfunction that lends to a bizarre genius that has created some of the most battle-tested machines in monster trucks. Welcome to the beauty of the Upper Peninsula here in northern Michigan. We're in Yooper territory. Just across Lake Huron, we've entered the city of St. Ignace, and a part of the country you must see if given the chance, just to take in the serenity of Pure Michigan. Let alone what we're here for today, our attention will turn to the event grounds of the Kewadin Casino as Monster Truck Throwdown rolls over the Mackinac Bridge with 6 of the biggest and the best. We've got 3 from the state of Indiana, and we got 3 from right here in the state of Michigan. And of course, the 3 out of Indiana, none other than that man's team right there, Jerry Beck of DCT Power Sports. He'll be piloting Dirt Crew. Jack Brown will be at the wheel of Maximus, carrying the swag for them. And of course, fan favorite Darren Basil in Blockhead. Jeremy Hossman representing the state of Michigan alongside teammate and team owner Elliott Miller in the Frontier Truck Parts Sinistar, and a legendary team in the sport, Mason Reif driving a second-generation driver there in Psycho Circus. Always a fan favorite, always getting wild, and we'll tell you more about that truck here in just a minute. We had some interesting designs in this field, too. No cookie cutters here as Elliott Miller rolls out to start things off in best trick competition with the Frontier Truck Parts Sinistar. Sandy old dent side on the nose, and debuted this body earlier this year right here in Michigan for this company as he opens up strong there with that stoppie. I can tell you right now, though, Miller always gets a little wild a little early. We'll see how much of this truck is left by the end of this day here in St. Ignace. Looks like he's headed for this pyramid over here, this van stack. Miller coming off 4th place finish in the All-Star Monster Truck Tours Monster Masher Championship Series. The first quarter came out and debuted this machine in Mount Pleasant earlier this year, and looking good here in his home state of Michigan, up in the Upper Peninsula here at St. Ignace. Under the warm sunshine, it was absolutely frigid when we got here this morning, and the weather turned around, the clouds rolled out, the sunshine rolled in. It's about 70 degrees, a little windy, but clear skies. You can see the clouds headed off in the other direction right now, and the fans about to get their money's worth from Elliott Miller in the Frontier Truck Parts Ford. Getting a stoppie off those metal ramps. Of course, the metal ramps come standard with any Psycho Circus appearance, and Elliott Miller used them to perfection there. Strong opening statement from Miller. I'm not sure what parts of these runs are going to be counted, by the way, but the score is best out of 10 points. We'll see. There are plenty of trucks in this field of 6 that could get a potential 10-point score, as Miller will open up on the high side of the scoring with a 6. Up next, Jack Brown out of Lafayette, Indiana, in Maximus, guy who's driven for J.R. McNeil for many, many years now, at the wheel of Jerry Beck's Maximus, the Eddie Micah built machine, hailing out of the Hoosier State. Looking good there, opening up with a stoppie. We will see what he has. He was runner-up in the racing competition on a wild track up in Mount Pleasant earlier this year. Now taking on a fairly standard straight line course, kind of old school racing here with the 3-jump straight line, but this will still be a driver's track. We'll tell you about that when we get to it. to go qualifying after this best trick competition. But right now, Brown trying to unseat Miller. Don't know if he's going to do it. Solid effort. But I don't know if it's going to be enough to unseat Miller. And a nice shot there. I think he would have liked to have gotten it into a slap bully, but being up on that short end of the track, didn't really kick him as far right as he would have liked it to kind of ride over toward the Pines. He will score a 6, so back-to-back 6s. He will tie Miller for the top spot as Jeremy Hausman rolls out the reckless driving machine, chassis owned by Elliott Miller. Nice vertical hit for the big black and green Chevrolet. Driver out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Another chassis that Miller owns that's got a storied history here is the original Vendetta. Again, big block Chevrolet horsepower. Nice stoppy right there. Not totally vertical, but Hausman, one more move. Nicely done. Sky wheelie into it. Slap wheelie. Drives it down the face of the race lane. Jeremy Hausman, I think, just raised the bar. We'll wait and see what the official score is, but he looked good in that run right there. A nice vertical sky wheelie, crushing some of the iron in the race lanes. And then again on this side, he had that stoppie in the middle, remember. That was a very good run. Look at this. Grabbed a hold of it down the face of the race ramp. What more could you ask for? And a score of 7 will take the lead by 1 point. The man out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, driving for the team out of Ionia. Keeping the reckless driving name alive. Here comes now Mason Wright. Second-generation driver out of Fowlerville, Michigan, keeping the legacy alive for his father, Psycho Circus. Doing what it does best. Rear engine truck, high center of gravity, and it will slap wheelie better than just about anything out there. You see the big meat he's got on the back of that thing to grab a hold of the sandy soil. Completely vertical, as it's his specialty. I think he wanted to grab one more there. Again, the short end of this track is just that. You got to be very careful. You see his father standing up on top of the trailer, watching every move he makes. Fans absolutely loving that. That was a solid effort. I'd say probably got the most out of the run of anybody we've seen so far, and he did so very, very quickly. Again, I mentioned this truck as well. Another chassis with a history on it. This truck was originally property of the late, great Jack Coburno, one of the wildest chassis builders in this business, and it went to another one of the wildest chassis builders in this business, Dave Reif, whose son Mason, getting the crowd on their feet. Carrying the colors for Psycho Circus and ATR Motorsports. A score of 9, way up top. Did not leave much room for the rest of the competition. Out rolls Block. Darren Basil out of Conroe, Texas, another member of the Lafayette, Indiana-based DCT Power Sports team. And in fact, this is the old quad that Gary Beck and Aaron Kane made so famous. Now, carrying this blockhead body. Definitely one the kids love, and a truck that we've seen a couple times this year. It was, in fact, Maximus when we saw it earlier this year. Darren, the racing winner up at Mount Pleasant. Definitely got the power. I think he really would like to get a slap wheelie out of this thing that's just not giving it to him. That rebound out the front that he's looking for just wasn't there. Got a little cattywampus on the first hit, and the suspension had to do a lot more work than he would have liked it to. Now, got one more shot here. Let's see if he can get it. Nice sky wheelie, but the rebound was not there for the slap wheelie. And take nothing away from Basil, one of the premier drivers in this business. Watch right here. I think he was hoping to go sky wheelie to slap wheelie, but it went off to the right-hand side and just didn't get that rebound with the right side compressing as much as it did. And then here, you'll see the rear wheels bounce off the face of the race ramp, and that kind of took the slap away from there. So a score of 6, the third 6 we've seen in this competition for the blockhead machine. Now, the DCT Power Sports machine. Jerry Beck in Dirt Crew, the original flying dump truck. Living up to the name right there as he kicks up the dust in the shutdown area. Classic Jerry Beck run so far. Definitely a cyclone dirt out here. It's very loose, not tacky at all, and it'll hold horsepower, but it'll let loose. And you can see right there as he gets a nice hit off the van stack. Slap wheelies up the short side of the track and brings it to an abrupt stop right in front of his own team. Jerry Beck flying. I do believe he is going into the number 1 spot. We get another look at it here. The score is coming up. Look at him fly this thing. That is classic Dirt Crew right there. A score of 9. Now, will it be Reif or Beck? We wait on word. It will be Jerry Beck. He's going to talk to Ryan Lacoste.
Well, first off, how about it, St. Ignace? It's Saturday, we're having fun. You know, it's been like 5 weeks since I've been in that truck. We've had a lot of stuff going on. Guys have been driving it. It feels good to get back in it. You know, I haven't lost the touch. I love that old thing.
And you're going to be going even bigger during freestyle a little later, right? We got racing too. Is there anybody you want to be?
Well, everybody. You know, that's why we're here to race. You know, we're not here to be last.
Awesome. Well, here, we got a t-shirt for our racing, or our best trick winner. If you want the hookup, you got to make some noise.
Jerry Beck mentioning he's been out of the truck for a while, climbs back in, and takes the first competition victory of the weekend and the first competition victory back in the seat, as he said, in about 5 weeks. Stay with us, a lot more to come from St. Ignace.
This Back Channel Productions program is brought to you in part by Monsters Monthly. Stay up to date with photos, videos, event info, and more at monstersmonthly.com. And by Crush This. For an inside look at the monster truck phenomenon, check out Crush This, a monster truck podcast.
There's only one place in the world you can find this much old school cool. Freedom Racing Monster Trucks. The home of Cyclops and Unnamed and Untamed. Get yourself a limited edition toy at freedomracingmt.com.
This Back Channel Productions program is brought to you in part by RPM Army, the place to get your motorsports fix.
Back at the Kuwaitan Casino Event Grounds in St. Ignace, Michigan with the Monster Truck Throwdown, getting ready to go into qualifying round action. Saw a little bit earlier Jerry Beck taking the number 1 spot in Best Trick Competition. He tied with that gentleman right there, Mason Reif, in Psycho Circus for points, but Beck won the cheer-off after the pro judging. Now, first truck down the track in qualifying should give us a good look at it. 3 jumps. He's got to get squared up for the last. A little bit bobble going into the second no man's land, but Reif will set the pace with a 9.15 second elapsed time. Take another look at it from the end zone, and you'll see pretty steep ramps here today, really throwing the trucks up in the air, and we'll see what the other lane is like here in a second. But you see he had to correct coming through that second no man's land, and that slowed him down just a little bit. So we are definitely going to see faster times, more than likely. We'll see what we get out of the left lane now with Jeremy Haasman and Reckless Driving. While landing at the end at a 7.46, though a much, much straighter run out of Haasman on that pass. We'll head back to the hot pits, and we'll get a look now at the end zone replay. Watch him on the final jump. Little correction right there, but he managed to stay on the throttle, and then a sideways landing that actually corrected the little tweak he gave to the sway bars in the first no man's land. So we'll see what see if that time holds up now as Elliott Miller, his teammate and the owner of these two trucks, rolls out the Frontier Truck Parts Sinistar. Tried to bonsai the first leg and actually may have gotten himself in trouble there. We'll see, though. Very, very quick. Not going to be faster than Haasman, though. A 7:32 for Miller on a wild pass. He launched the truck over the first jump, almost landed in the face of the second. Look at him clear the first jump in style, but right there didn't leave himself much room to correct, and when he got into the second no man's land, he had to back out of it to avoid driving off the course. Now, here comes Jack Brown in Maximus. Eddie Micah built machine new for this season. Been doing very, very well, and again, runner-up at Mount Pleasant. It's a quick track, but it is a driver's track as Brown wraps up his qualifying time. Look at that. Right where he needs to be. Maximus jumping into the upper crust right there. Another look at it from the end zone. And you can see they're all working hard to keep these trucks in line. There's not a lot of time to settle down in between the first and second jump. There's a little more room to take a shot at that last jump, but if you're not straight going in there, you are not going to be able to take over the lead. Now Blockhead rolls out for his qualifying run. Darren Basil. Nice straight pass for Basil. Again, the winner up at Mount Pleasant in the racing bracket, and he puts down the new fast time, a 6.55 second elapsed time for Blockhead. The number one spot now owned by the fan favorite, really a favorite with the kids, but look how straight he was. Didn't overdrive the track, maybe a little conservative off the starting line, and that allowed him a much, much straighter shot through that second no man's land as our final competitor rolls out for qualifying. Jerry Beck in Dirt Crew out of Lafayette, Indiana. Coming to stage, waiting on green. Gets the thumbs up, waits on that green light. While landing at the end, a nice run. I don't know if he jumped the start or if he just burped it and got it stopped in time. A 7.5 for Beck. Not a bad run, but the fast time will go to his teammate, Darren Basil in Blockhead. He will take on the bottom of the field, that being Psycho Circus. Maximus will take on Dirt Crew. They landed about mid-pack. And then the Frontier Truck Parts Sinistar will take on its teammate, Reckless Driving. So should be some tight racing here in St. Ignace when we come back. Round one gets underway. Back at Kuwaitan Casino, St. Ignace, Michigan, the Monster Truck Throwdown continues. Getting ready now for round one of side-by-side monster truck racing, and the qualifying session told us anything. Discretion may be the better part of valor. A little bit of conservatism off the starting line may be the way to get down this track quickly. Blockhead, who had the quick qualifying time out of the right lane, now moves to the left lane as Darren Basil takes on Mason Rife. Seems to think he's got this one in the bag as he had lane choice going into this. Rife definitely getting knocked around in no man's land off the line. He was aggressive, but it seems like Basil using that same tactic that got him so quickly through the qualifying session working in his favor. You can see launching a little bit to his left. He may want to get out of that lane later on today. We'll see if that works, but he was the quick qualifier. Mason Rife struggles over there in that right lane. Now we get a look at Jack Brown in Maximus. Again, the Eddie Micah built machine up against the Eddie Micah rebuilt machine you're looking at right there, Dirt Crew, but Dirt Crew has not fired. They're trying to figure out if they can get that truck to the line. It may be a buy run for Maximus. You can see the crew running back to get, I believe, a jump box or, well, they're in the toolbox right now. You can see they got a primer bottle coming out. He has fired the truck. So Beck was still in there trying to fire that thing and get it to the line. You can see them run over to the toolbox back there. He was able to get that thing fired. They were working on it before we got back from that replay. So apparent problems on Dirt Crew. Hopefully nothing that'll nix him here in this matchup as he runs out of the lane his teammate just won out of, and he battles his other teammate who is in the lane that Darren Basil qualified in the number one position out of. Huge launch at the end, tremendously aggressive pairing right there. Dual dust storms as they head back. The win will go to Jack Brown in Maximus. One more look at it. Both of them had pretty straight runs into the last jump, and look how hard Jack Brown attacks the final obstacle as he flies past the finish line for the victory. There you see Jeremy Hausman in reckless driving, and Elliot Miller now, the owner of both of these trucks, in the Frontier Truck Parts Sinistar. Should be a pretty good matchup here. Very evenly prepared trucks, but very different chassis designs. Miller maybe a little too conservative off the start. Both of them in trouble in that run, but Hoffman came late in the run, and that allowed Miller a little bit of a reprieve. Watch him again. Miller got in trouble right off the line. He's on the right of your screen in the left lane. He actually bounced over the double that they have to hit right off the line. And there you see Hausman either bump the rear steering or bump the self-center. Maybe it malfunctioned, but it looked like he had steering when he pulled off the track. So I'm not exactly sure what the problem was there, but setting up our pairings for the next round. You can see they are working on trucks right now. Elliot Miller's truck getting a once-over because he took a hard landing on that pass. Jack Brown's truck, the same thing. He took a hard landing on his pass. And you see how they fall right here coming into this semifinal round of racing as Blockhead heads for the line. He is indeed coming back into this right lane. I don't think he liked it over there on the left side. He is going to get set to do battle with the boss, Jerry Beck in Dirt Crew. Looks like they've got all the problems worked out on that truck. They had firing it at the beginning of the last round. Blockhead and Dirt Crew, pretty evenly matched trucks. Jerry Beck definitely trusting this equipment. Who is it going to be? Great start for both. Basil bouncing from the first no-man's land. Got an odd kick, probably the worst run we've seen him make so far today, and still managed to come out on the top of that pairing. Jerry Beck will head back to the pits. get ready for freestyle, which is exactly where he wants to be. Maybe a little jump off the line for Basil. Had a great start. He overjumped the landing area on the double. You almost want to come down the backside of that double, and you can see he had to straighten it up right here. Stayed in the throttle, though. Great driver there in Darren Basil. He had control of that truck, even though he was fighting it a little bit. Get a real good look at it from the end zone. Kind of takes him around to his left. He counter-steered it, pulled him back to the right, but he managed to hang on to it and go into the final round as he has one more teammate still left in this field. Jack Brown in Maximus will take on Elliott Miller in the Frontier Truck Parts Ford. Brown may be the favorite to win here with a newer style truck, but the truck you're looking at here that Elliott Miller is riding aboard is definitely known for having a great racing ability over the years, and Brian Bartle took that design to many a victory in his time behind the wheel. So we'll see what Miller can do here against the new age machine. Pushing hard, Miller way out front on that one. Both of them sky high, bouncing down at the finish line. Miller little bit off to the side at the end of that run. They're going to review it real quick just to make sure it was legal. He was close to going out of bounds, but I do believe he is going to hang on to that victory. Watch it again. Both of them taking a wild ride. Brown looked so strong off the line, but Miller just poured on the power. Look at that, barely hanging in there in the lane that's been called the bad lane here today. Miller was able to make the most of it. Again, perfect execution over the first jump, and I think that's where he was able to get out on Brown, who bounced into the second obstacle. Miller just poured on the power, and both of them flying over those steep finish line jumps. Elliott Miller may have a little work to do when he gets this thing parked after racing. He has to go right back to the line, though, and take on Darren Basil as Basil rolls in to the lane that Miller just won out of. Basil knows he can get a run out of both lanes. He's that confident. Miller gets pushed over to this right lane now, and you have to think that it is because Basil just watched him take a very aggressive win out of the lane he's now in. He knows that that lane will hold the horsepower. Let's see, though. Miller, here in his home state, would love to upset Basil. Got him off the line. Not going to happen. He takes a hard hit at the end of the run. It will be Darren Basil in Blockhead picking up an impressive victory over a hard-charging Elliott Miller. You can see Miller tagging the brakes right here. He has, looks like, done some damage on that run. I don't think it's so much in the suspension. It looks like he may have hurt something in the front end of that truck. Again, a hard landing right there. Really kicked on him. I believe he may have broken an axle, or he may have broken something in the actual center section there, something in the diff. We'll get another look at it. Miller attacking the track really about the same way he did in the previous round. Tried to get on the downside of the ramp. Didn't quite work, but he took two hard licks to the right-hand side. And again, got slowed down in the mid-range, and that's where Basil just opened up that lead. And you can see how far over Elliott Miller was.
It's awesome. We appreciate everybody coming out and could make it. It doesn't look like a lot of people, but when you're in the trucks, you can hear them. It sounds like a lot more. So we're out here pushing them as hard as we can. The track is really slick. You take off the line and it wants to scoot out from under you. So there's a lot of wheel work in there, but it's great to get the blockhead into the winner's circle against all these great drivers.
And for freestyle coming up, you've had some great experience on the year. I mean, we're getting kind of towards the end of the year with Monster Truck Throwdown. Is there anything special maybe you're going to bust out a little later today?
You just never know. I mean, we freestyle for the fans. That's what they come to see. Just because it's towards the end of the year doesn't mean we're going to let up. So you're going to see some wild, high-flying action, and maybe even someone upside down. Who wants to see that?
Yeah! Here's your trophy, and then also a t-shirt to toss out to a fan. If you want the hookup from Darren Basil,
Fans pumped up now after racing a wild racing bracket. What a great track these guys laid out here. As we wrap that up, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with freestyle. Do not go anywhere.
Hey, welcome to Wild Man Adventures. For the Silver Lake Sand Dragway, there really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter. Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo. Gotta check it out. This week we're gonna go down memory lane.
The Throwdown continues in St. Ignace, Michigan at the Kuwaitan Casino Events Ground. And who better to open up a freestyle in cold country than the Frontier Truck Parts Sinistar Elliott Miller, representing this great truck parts distributorship and used truck dealer as well as repair shop out of Dorr, Michigan, just south of Grand Rapids, carrying the colors for them in the 2023 season, and he has laid down some awesome runs in this thing and knows the chassis well. Remember, though, he is making this run in a damaged truck. Seeing how long it'll hang in there. He did damage to the front end. We'll see if he can make it work for him. Whatever front-wheel drive that thing had is gone right now as he works the track in rear-wheel drive only. Luckily, this truck likes to do wheel stands, but where this will hurt him is potentially lining up for the obstacles because he's got no pull off of the front tires when he's trying to steer it. He's going to have to push it around with the rear steer and just plow into whatever's in front of him, just like that. Probably would have liked to have thrown a stoppie in there, but that's going to be out of the question with the truck in this condition. Let's see what he's got. Off the race lane. Two-wheel drive slap wheelie, but it was the two wheels he needed. Looks like he's going to wrap it up and just up in front of the Psycho Circus, going grill to grill. The 79 bumping the 08 right there. Saw the hoods move a little bit. I don't think he meant to do that, but limited stopping power. Look at him get on this thing again. Two-wheel drive run for the most part. It looked like he had front-wheel drive when he first rolled out, but once he really hammered on it, it went away. He did damage to the center section during the racing competition, and it just finally left him during this freestyle run as Miller, well, you got to tip your hat to him. Look at him getting real greedy on that one, and it paid off. He could have done a world of damage had that thing grabbed any harder than it did, but carried a nice vertical slap wheelie. Opens with a score of 18. Very, very impressive for Elliott Miller, representing the Frontier Truck Parts family very, very well. Now, block that. Darren Basil out of Conroe, Texas, driving the wild-looking machine out of Lafayette, Indiana. Your racing champion now, ready to go to work here in freestyle. He was looking for it in best trick. May have revealed it. Look at this. High sides. It brings it back down. No room to spare. He pulls that off on the short end of the track. Some fresh cars right down there. I didn't even see those. He blows the glass out of that one. There's still a fresh side on this side. We'll see who gets a hold of that obstacle, but it's aimed right at the race lane, so you could really get in trouble. This track may look cluttered from this ground level shot. There's actually plenty of room in between these obstacles to get yourself low, but if you fly too far, you could be in big trouble as Darren Basil gets into the second half of this run with tons of ground speed. The momentum has been awesome so far. He'd love to say he won racing and freestyle here in St. Ignace. The hang time has been just awesome for Basil. Trying to find that last wow moment in the run. To go out on a high note, Blockhead, very well capable, as I mentioned, a truck that absolutely can fly high with the best of them. This is the old Quad Chaos. We know we've seen this truck high in the air. We know it can fly far, because Joey Sylvester certainly said it. And now, working the track in wild fashion, he wraps it up with another save. Not quite as far over as we've seen it before, but you can tell, if you look at that body, that truck has been on its top more than once this year. Look at him ride that thing out. As I mentioned, this is a world record holding chassis. It's been changed quite a bit from those days, but look at him, just caught the corner of that thing. I don't think he meant to do that, but ended up working out in his favor as he saves it. Blockhead looking good here in freestyle. Remember, Miller set the pace with an 18, so a solid score to open up. Did Basil do enough with all that ground speed, with all that big air, with the saves? Was it enough to take over the number one spot? 25, indeed it was, as Mason Rive heads to the track now at Psycho Circus. Gonna head over here to his custom ramps. Again, they come standard with any Psycho Circus appearance. Not the rebound he needed. Usually he can carry a nice wheelie off of that. Didn't work for him there. This truck is getting beat up and sheared, but right there you see why. If you see Psycho Circus in the lineup of an event near you, you have got to get tickets. The Wright family carrying on quite the legacy now in the second generation, and good to see Dave back up on two legs. Again on top of the trailer, watching his son take this awesome machine, originally built by Jack Coburna, around the track here in St. Ignace. Still looking for it there, and he's got plenty of cleat to make it work, but he's getting better hits off these race lanes. Just plowing over whatever's in front of them. You talk about a truck that was built to take a beating. This one right here, the balloon's gone, the nose is gone. Back around to the ramps. Can he grab the wheelie? One more good move left in it. Look at that, man. The ramps were not even his friend today. Those race lanes gave him all he wanted. What a run by Mason Rife, and he stops right behind Miller. Went up to give him a little love tap there. Look at him. Grab a foot full of throttle. Those big Firestones digging into the sandy soil. And I mentioned this thing was built to take a beating. Doing exactly what they came here to do in freestyle. This truck is very impressive. This is a moneymaker, this truck. You take it out and run it as hard as you want to, and it will pretty much soak up anything you throw at it as their score comes in. There you see Dave up on top. Trailer 21, not going to take over the lead, but definitely earning his keep here this weekend. The next machine rolling out, Jerry Beck, the flying dump truck, usually king of freestyle, one of the toughest guys on the Throwdown circuit to beat. Jerry looking to put on a clinic in front of the crowd here in Michigan. Just feeling the track out when he finds exactly the spot he wants the truck in. This thing is gonna fly higher than anyone else has here this afternoon. Working it nicely, but he has a problem, and the truck comes to an abrupt stop, and it looked like that right rear locked up on Jerry Beck, and yes it did. He is done for the weekend, not the way he wanted to go out of here, but you can see he has broken apparently a planetary, and he's only going to score an 8 in freestyle. A guy who was a shoo-in to win this thing had to work for it, and unfortunately it came apart on him. Stay with us, more freestyle to come from here at Kuwaitan Casino. Jeremy Hosman roaring out and reckless driving. Another Elliott Miller-owned chassis. Another chassis on that team with a storied history. As I mentioned, the old Vendetta, the original Vendetta, now serving as reckless driving. Will have another identity in 2024. And look at Hosman working the track already. Wanting to jump over Darren Basil and Blockhead. Thought he'd be chasing Jerry Beck right now, but unfortunately you saw Beck with the breakage before we went to break. And now Hosman working the track in reckless driving. Christensen built chassis. Let's see if he can keep this momentum up. He's looked good so far. slap wheelies they're getting here this afternoon. There is nothing like them. Down here in front of us doing some of the social media, I just want to point out Athena Cazell, who will be taking the wheel of Elliot Miller's chassis. Miller will be jumping behind the wheel of this truck under 2 different identities. That team will run. Haasman working it hard, getting wild there. Wisely checks up, may have done a little damage. Another wild sideways landing for Jeremy Haasman. And there goes a very expensive transmission from the sound of it. Got on the throttle and it did not go anywhere. Haasman wrapping up an impressive run. I don't know if he was on the track long enough to take over the lead, but that was a solid effort. For the man from Grand Rapids, Michigan, reckless driving with the slap wheelies. And again, when I say greedy slap wheelie, I mean not being totally sure you got that rear end on the ground and just grabbing a throttle and kicking it back on the wheelie bar like that. Always fun to watch. The trucks don't like it so much. You can rip the rear ends up that way, but this here may have put a hurting on the truck. That hard hit, you can break axles, you can break corners. Again, very wisely locked it up before he got over here by the wall. A little scared to the ground screw there, but hence the name of the truck. A 24 for reckless driving, not going to take over the lead. Now, Jack Brown rolling out in Maximus to wrap up freestyle here this afternoon on the Upper Peninsula. To the wind, and you saw it down there. Haasman's truck is still sitting in the middle of the track at the far end, so if you want to run into that field, you better make sure you're straight and true past that big green and black Chevrolet. Nice of him not to roost it there. Maximus getting some nice hang time so far. He needs a hook, though. We've had some good runs on this track thus far. Remember, though, he's chasing his teammate. Darren Basil has been unbeatable so far. Walked it down. You can see the pressure on those steering rams kind of kick the rear wheels to one side. Wisely let it settle back in instead of getting on. You can blow those rams apart if you're not careful. He did not, but he is cooking right now. Very close to getting in to the Chevy at the end of the track there. Maximus looking toward the second half of his run here. Hammering on the rear end as he grabs a little bit of a slap wheelie there, throwing caution to the wind as they just rip this track apart here in freestyle. What's he got left? Walking it out, getting a bit of a moonwalk going there, but that thing has an awful lot of throttle. Jack Brown popping out of the cab, and Maximus, there you see, just rolling in. The kids love that truck. Beck and crew really putting together some great equipment that they know will grab attention. I'm going to guess he threw the belts back on real quick before he did that, but Jack Brown laying down a shot here in freestyle. Very impressive run for Maximus. Now, was it enough to take over for Darren Basil, or from Darren Basil, excuse me, going into deciding this freestyle competition? We were waiting to find out. Plenty of hang time. The ground speed was there. He had a few things that Basil did not. Again, that hang time was just awesome, and you could see how close he got a couple times to the reckless driving entry on the other side, but this was just a great run, a 25. And he will pick it up, according to the fans. Jack Brown down with Ryan Lacoste.
Do you feel the hair up there when you're landing? Does it do anything to the truck?
Absolutely not. And you know what? After watching all those trucks run and seeing how lame the track got, I was like, man, I really got to do something stupid to get this trophy. And my teammate Darren Basil, I tell you what, for him to go out the second truck and lay down one of the best freestyles, you think in your mind like, man, I got to top that. So all I could do was just think about how hard I need to go for you fans and do it. So what do you think?
Jack Brown is worn out right now. That team has been working hard all day long trying to keep their trucks in the action, and this crowd definitely got some wild action here in St. Ignace. One of the best tracks we've seen in terms of racing, and some great freestyle, some great two-wheel action. Awesome best trick, and congratulations to all the champions here. We're not done for the 2023 season. Got a few more to go. We're going to get ready for 2024, but a big thanks to the Throwdown crew for their hospitality, and Kuwaitan Casino for welcoming the Throwdown crew in. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.